So I got home from work today, and the first thing I did was turned on YouTube, and this is the number I came home to. 221 subscribers. I have you guys to thank for this, but I reached my goal that I set forward in under 2 days. So thank you all for that. This does come with a downside, though, in the fact that I have to now get a video out that I thought I'd have a couple more days to make. So without further ado, hopefully I can answer these questions appropriately. The first question comes from Zombie. I think that's how you'd say his name. Do you have a goal or an amount of subscribers or something that I want to achieve with this channel? Yes, I do. Not a subscriber amount, but I do want to achieve the goal of I want to become a private detective myself, and I also want to have deduction become a more recognized field of science. Right now it's kind of considered pseudoscience, and I'd like to be a part of changing that and kind of uniting a deductionist community sort of situation. The next question comes from L. Elliott, a loyal subscriber and fellow deductionist, who is also working on some cool projects himself, so keep an eye for those. He asks about expanding on Mind Palace, which is funny because it's actually something that I've been trying to work on myself lately. Once you have a well-established and basic Mind Palace, this is probably something you want a location that you know well. There are a couple of things you can do to add to it, and I'll borrow from Ben Cardell's The Monographs, but I'll also add some of my own methods in this. Firstly is creating additional rooms or entire memory places or journeys for specific topics. Ben Cardell mentioned that he had an entire room dedicated to history in his Mind Palace. Secondly, you can do to some degree, you can expand the walls of specific rooms. Again, using Ben Cardell's example, his history room is just an oversized version of his history class from high school, with expanded walls and room, which gives him more virtual space to store things. And then there's a couple of other memory techniques that you can add to your Mind Palace, like word pegging or linking. Both of these methods go hand in hand with each other, but a simple way to explain it is that word pegging is a simplified version of the Mind Palace itself, wherein you have pre-selected words for each number, and you go as high as you want. You can remember lists this way by visualizing some kind of connection to the word you have designated to that number. Linking is a similar method, but involves creating word stories to link long lists of information together. I would suggest studying these two methods so you can see how they work better than I can explain right now, but I also do plan on doing a more in-depth video about Mind Palaces later on, so keep tuned for that. A couple of ideas that I've come up with myself. The memory technique that I've dubbed the memory web is basically that if I want to remember something, I mentally associate it with other things similar to it or related to it. And all I have to do is use any one of the trigger words to connect it to the web. And I'll give an example here with this little diagram that I've drawn up. Now the idea is that if I need to remember the word deduction, for example, all I have to do is remember something or associate it with something like Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, or 221B. However, these are all things that are natural associations to the word deduction, and they're easier to recall. Now, navigating a memory web where any of these one pegs can link me back to deduction is something that your mind already does naturally, which is what makes this a valuable memory tool, in my opinion, because your mind already does this naturally. All I'm doing is basically aiming it and making connections that already exist easier to remember. And this works within the Mind Palace as well, as any peg that I have in the Mind Palace can now be associated to several other memory pegs in a sort of web-like fashion. Additionally, another method that I thought was kind of fun is that some people can create a Mind Palace based on levels of a video game. So I thought it would be a good idea in a game like Minecraft. One could practically design their Mind Palace however they wanted it to look, however big they needed it to be, and you could place different pegs inside your palace in-game. What this would do is allow you to visualize literally anything as your own mind palace. Well, in theory it should work. I've never actually tried it, but you guys might like the idea. Next we have a loyal subscriber, Alexandra Zaluja. I really hope I'm not butchering your name. She had several questions to me, so we'll start from first to last. What can I deduce from a pair of shoes? Now, shoes are very important in deduction. You can deduce income level based on how old the shoes look, if they look replaced or repaired regularly. Wear and tear can tell you their function, as if they are work shoes or running shoes or dress shoes. The design of the shoes can tell you their purpose. Traces or stains left on the shoe can tell you what kind of things they come into contact with on a daily basis. They can also clue you into health issues. I once deduced a man had diabetic neuropathy because his shoes were a few sizes too small and he couldn't feel that they were too small. They might be specifically made to help with different problems related to posture or that sort of thing. In a pinch, you can even deduce handedness based on the way the shoestrings are tied, though this really isn't the most efficient way to make such a conclusion. Her second question is about any books I would recommend with someone using deduction. Well, besides the obvious... I'm kidding. There are numerous crime novels with characters who take from or are based on Sherlock Holmes, but some of the best are from Agatha Christie. Besides her, I would also suggest Thrawn. Yes, I know it's a Star Wars book. Yes, I know it's science fiction. However, the deduction he makes in the book are nearly flawless, save for a minor critique, and that is that because he's an alien, he can see people in infrared, which gives him a new set of information to pull from. But besides that, it is purely our observation that we can make ourselves as humans. So from a deduction standpoint alone, I think it would be worth taking a look into. Additionally, this is the book and character that made me take an interest in art as a field of deduction, so that's pretty cool. And her third question is, have I ever visited the Sherlock Holmes Museum? No, unfortunately I haven't. I've got some vacation time coming up early next year, hopefully. Maybe then I'll be able to go visit the Sherlock Holmes Museum and the Jack the Ripper Street murders as well, the tour that they have there for that. And her final question is, what is my favorite painting? Not sure this is going to be detailed enough, but I like the Cafe Terrace at Night by Vincent van Gogh. I know I'm so original, aren't I? And I like the Scream by Edvard Munch. Just because it makes me laugh. It's such a nice, funny painting. And that's all the questions we have in the subscriber special today. As a lot of editing, I started this thing at 2 o'clock and it's 5:25 now. So it took quite a bit longer of more editing, and I did graphics for this one. So I think it worked out pretty well. Thank you all for posting your questions. I'm not sure when I'll have another Q&A. I'd like to do more of them if I can continue to get enough questions in. I do have a couple more videos on the way as well. I think because of the questions in this video, I will push forward my Mind Palace video, the one on Mind Palaces that I was going to do. Besides that, I think that is all I'm going to cover for this one. It's going to be a pretty long video. Thank you all for watching, and have a good evening.